Hey, what's up, everybody? And no, this video is not about Spanish, but yeah. So I was going back and forth with this guy. I was pretty basically debating this guy who is obviously of Hispanic descent. He was arguing with me, trying about the whole alligator incident, trying to say that the black parents are irresponsible, and then he just went on this whole rant talking about black people. So I went on a rant talking about Hispanic people. Tell him that I do not hate Hispanic people. The only ones I hate are the racist one. Besides, I have a grandmother who is Colombian, so I don't hate Hispanics at all. That's not my deal. I hate people like him. So he started talking all this shit about blacks, saying blacks are this, that, they're violent, they kill each other. I hope Trump wins because when he wins, I'm gonna own a couple of you niggers. And it's just funny because he feels you could tell that he is very deficient when it comes to history. He doesn't know that Mexicans were lynched here in the United States just like blacks. They don't like to talk about that stuff because they're trying to make it seem like slavery and lynching was solely something that happened to blacks. No, Mexicans were lynched. Other Hispanics were lynched too. Like back in the 60s, there were a group of Hispanic men who were lynched, and they weren't the only Puerto Ricans who were lynched down there. But that story was kind of big back in the 60s. Puerto Rican men were lynched. Even in the 1800s, in the early 1900s. Mexican men were being lynched and swung off trees just like black people were too. Simply based off of race. Now, I'm not saying that only black and non-whites are being lynched, because whites were lynched too, but it wasn't racially based. I mean, I guess you can say that some cases were, because Italians were lynched, because back in the 1800s there wasn't this whole white conglomerate thing that we have today. Back then, this whole Caucasian thing really didn't exist the way it does today. The whole Caucasian race thing is relatively new when you look at it, because I majored in anthropology and I learned a lot of this stuff. Minored in history and stuff like that, so I learned a lot of this stuff in school. But most of the stuff that I learned is actually outside of school. So yeah, Italians were being lynched. Like, they actually lynched Italians because they were separate back then. During the 1800s, when a lot of European immigrants were arriving, they didn't consider themselves to be the same people. That happened much later, when it happened like during the mid 1900s, when they decided to lump all Europeans together as being one people. But anyway, so yeah, Mexicans were being lynched, and he said that my people don't come from slavery. My ancestors weren't slaves, and something like that, because he was trying to say, oh well, blacks are slaves, as if that's trying to that's going to demoralize me or something like that. I'm like, well, guess what? From looking at your picture, your son, I'm guessing that's his son looks mestizo, and what mestizo is basically a mixture between Native American and Spaniard or European. And most mestizos the majority of their DNA is of Native American descent. And even if they're not, there are cases where some mestizos aren't mostly Native American, but his son looked mestizo, so I'm guessing he's mestizo. So if he's mestizo, there's a great chance, there's a 99% chance that his ancestors were enslaved. Because what he failed to realize, what I informed him in, is that Native Americans were the first slaves here in America. And their slavery lasted, in some cases, longer than black slavery here in the Americas. Because Native Americans, they were here first. They were enslaved about, I think black slaves, they started shipping black slaves over here probably about, I think like 70 to 100 years after they started setting up these colonies here in here in the Americas, because slavery happened way before it did in Latin America than it did in the Americas, because they arrived here way before we did. They arrived here in the late 1400s, early 1500s. England, they really didn't set up and establish anything here until like the late 1500s and stuff. Well, mid 1500s, I'll say. So And slavery didn't come until much later. Slavery didn't hit North America until like the 1600s, when they had slavery since the 1500s, the early 1500s. So Native Americans were slaves much longer than blacks were here in the United States. Most of them started to get liberated along with the blacks in Latin America during, I can't remember exactly, during the 1700s. During the 1700s, that's when people like Bolivar, that's his name, and that's what the country Bolivia is named after. I can't remember his first name, but Bolivar something, or something Bolivar, I can't remember his name, and a couple other generals went around and started liberating parts of Latin America and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're a mestizo, your ancestors were slaves. This is the bottom line to it. And whether dude knows it or not, most mestizos have African ancestry. So even if Native Americans weren't slaves, which they were, used to have African ancestry and stuff like that. So anyways, so yeah, he started trying to say all this bullshit. He really brought race into the equation, trying to talk bad about black people. But everything he said bad about black people, I brought up about Latin people, and I brought facts. His was just hearsay. He was like, black people are the most violent people in the world. Okay, quick Google search, and I already knew this. The most violent region in the world, it's not Africa, but Latin America. Latin America has the highest crime rates in the world. They have the most homicides per capita. Latin America. Look at these homicides. Look at this. The highest country with the homicide rate that is of black descent would be Jamaica. But look at all the other countries. Boom. Fucking Latin American. Latin American. There are way more, if you look at here, there are way more Latin American countries than there are African countries. And then there are, not Mediterranean, sorry, Caribbean countries like Bahama, Trinidad and Tobago, and Jamaica, and Belize. Belize is considered a Latin American and an Anglo-American country because they speak both languages there. But most of the people in Belize are mestizo. But yeah, so just killed his point right there because he tried to say that blacks are the most violent. I was like, well, blacks are the most violent. We're criminals and all this stuff, but why are crime rates higher in your countries? Why here in America there's a lot of Latino on Latino violence? He tried to bring up the black on black violence here in the United States. Well, the Latino on Latino violence is just as bad. It's just not publicized as much as it is in with the whole thing in Chicago, because everybody likes to base the black on black violence on what's happening in Chicago, and that's not happening in every city. That issue is mostly isolated. I'm not saying that there aren't gangs killing each other in other cities, but that whole Chirac thing is another story. That's why they call it Chirac, because that place is like fucking Iraq. It's a different place, and they try to make that the epitome of black violence when it's not. We don't have that type of shit everywhere in the United States. A lot of gang violence has calmed down a lot. But what they're not talking about is all the Latinos over there in California who are killing each other and who are killing innocent black people who have nothing to do with gang violence. They're not talking about that at all. So... And another thing that I mentioned too is, what about the cartels, sir? You want to talk about how violent black people are? Well, what about all the thousands of Mexicans who are being killed every year, innocent Mexicans who are being killed every year by cartel members? I seen a video where they went to this fucking pawn shop. I think it was a pawn shop. Went in there, lit up the fucking owner, and lit up this innocent woman who was just trying to buy something down in Mexico. And you mean to tell me that shit is worse than gang members killing each other? I mean, these people are beheading people and killing innocent people. At least most of the gang members here, the black gang members here aren't killing innocent people. These people, these cartels are intentionally going out and killing innocent people. You think that whole thing see, we cry about what happened in Orlando or Sandy Hook, but people don't know that Sandy Hook's in that Orlando shooting happened all the time in Latin America. They go into these fucking clubs filled with people dancing and light the whole fucking club up. They have movies based off that shit. They have movies based off of that. There's this one movie, I can't remember what it's called, but it's about this girl who's trying to become a model. And she ends up getting mixed up with the cartel. Her friend gets killed in this fucking club scene, where they go in there and light up everybody in the club, kill everybody in the club. And that happens very often because I keep up with the news. See, the thing is, dude think I'm stupid. He think I'm an ignorant American. On top of that, an ignorant black American. And he think I don't know nothing. But I am very, very educated. And I like to keep up on things. I like to study different things. And I know that these events happen. They take place because I read fucking articles. Of course, I can speak Spanish. I can read articles in Spanish. I keep up with the news that's happening there. How these these students, hundreds of students are coming up missing, who are obviously being killed. It's happening by their own people, and you're trying to tell me that Africa is worse than that? You know what I'm saying? Most of the violence is committed in Latin America and the world. Latin America, he tries to say that African kids are poor and are, poor and eating dirt and all this stuff. Well, Latin America is just as poor as Africa. Majority of the countries in Africa are developing. Majority of the countries in Latin America are developing. Most people in Latin America are dirt fucking poor. If you were to take an image of Latin America and take an image of somewhere in West Africa, the city layouts are identical. The infrastructure of all of cities in Latin America and in Africa are very similar. In the inner cities they have roads, but once when you guys have the city, the infrastructure stops. The roads, the paved roads, gone. The clean running water, gone. But even in many places in Latin America, there is a bunch of contaminated water. These people drink sewage water. And I'm not trying to talk bad about Latin Americans at all. This is not my intention. My intention is that to show that you can't say that Latinos are better than Africans, because they're not. Look at the situations both of them are in. What I was trying to do at the beginning was that, hey, why are you defending these fucking white people when they hate you just as much? That was my point. That's why I brought up the whole lynching thing, about Latinos used to get lynched too, because he's fighting for people who don't fucking love him. Period. And black people do that same fucking thing. We fight for people who don't love us. He's talking about he hoped that Trump gets into office. Trump never said anything about deporting black people. What he did say is that he wanted to build a wall and deport your asses. He wanted to deport illegals. Most of the people who vote for him want to kill illegals. All those fucking, all those little guys on the border, and these little militia groups, they're killing Mexicans. They're killing Mexican people, Hispanic people who are crossing the fucking border. Killing them. These are the same people who vote for Trump. So you really think that things are going to work out in your favor? You think they're going to deport Muslims? Even though they didn't say nothing about blacks, but I know that he will probably want to do something with blacks. You really think that they're going to keep your asses here when they fucking hate you just as much? There has been more hatred, outward hatred towards Hispanics than any other people here recently, in the media. I mean, there was a fucking law that was trying to be put in place a couple of years ago that was trying to make it that they card any Mexican. Any person who looked Hispanic, you would get card. And you think this country is for you? People like him are fucking ignorant, and it's sad. It is really sad. But anyways, you can look at this. You can read these articles. See, he was saying bullshit, and I would show him proof. And every time I would show him proof, he would start saying stupider shit. All his stuff started to become incoherent and non-factual, And he didn't post any links. He didn't post any sources, anything like that. But I was. I'm that type of person that will dig up facts and have sources. I even have fucking bookmarks. I have fucking groups of bookmarks for these fucking citations, to cite this shit. So I don't play around, When it comes to debating this shit, I don't fuck around. But anyways, yeah, so it says Latin America is the world's most violent region. Yet Africans are the most violent people in the world. Blah blah blah, that bullshit. And you can go to crime and violence in Latin America. It will tell you how bad it is. It is a social pandemic in the 20th century. So yeah, the world's most violent cities. They're all Latin American cities. Well, I believe this gets like a top 50 list, and most of the countries at the top are Latin American countries. And yeah, this is just a little bit talking about when Americans lynched Mexicans. This talks about the lynchings that happened through the 1800s, even up. See most of these lynchings. Okay, so I'm gonna read a little bit. Delgado attempts to shed the light on a largely unknown history of Latinos, particularly Mexican Americans in the Southwest U.S., who were lynched between the years 1846 and 1925. A lot of people don't know about this, but this is real. This happened. This happened very often. I mean, I read books, and see, this is the thing. Like I said before, lynching is nothing that solely has anything to do solely with black people. It happened to, like I said, Italians. They lynched Italians. They lynched Hispanics. They lynched. I said lynched, lynch like Lich King. They lynched Hispanics. They lynched Italians. They lynched Native Americans. So this is nothing that is solely isolated to black people. This just doesn't happen to black people. But this is the way the media likes to portray things. Just like the media love making slave movies. They love fucking making slave movies and putting that shit in our face. Because they want the world to think that's the only history we have, when it's not. And it works because people fall for that okie doke. But yeah, anyways, that's all I have to say. The dude is funny. I blocked him because there's no point in debating with his ass. But if you want to debate him, his name is, I'm not even going to pronounce the shit. It's Fijolero. I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's probably some little fucked up, made up name and shit. But yeah, I hit his ass with the stats, man. Like, as you've seen, I blew his shit up. But you can't see his comments anymore just because I blocked his ass. But basically, every 2 comments he will respond and shit. But I blew him up with the facts, man. He was just, saying a bunch of bullshit. But I blocked him because I won. I won. I got him to where he started to babble and shit. He started to say all this bunch of... He started to repeat himself, too. Everything he started to say became redundant and very stagnant. Like it wasn't going anywhere. So, yeah. I like doing that. I'm not a person who likes to just sit around and debate people, but trust me, I am well versed and educated. So when somebody comes at me like that, I will debate you and I will throw facts your way. I won't just make assumptions and just bullshit you. I'm gonna throw you some facts. But anyways, that's what I have to say. I know I said that before, but yeah, I'm out of here. This video is 17 minutes long. So anyways, talk to you guys later. Peace.